Hey, Chamber members, Alan Waters here, your Marketing and Communications Coordinator with the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce and your Words of Wisdom podcast. Today, I am joined by
Ben Jackson, and I am a CFP, Certified Financial Planner with Jackson Financial in Blacksburg.
All right, and this is one that I have been really looking forward to because I know kicking this off, like there's a lot that I have to be careful with because of, and we're going to get into that question a little bit later, but first thing I ask absolutely everybody, what does success mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So success is probably, I've been doing this for 11 years, so it has adapted what I would call success over those 11 years. And now I would probably give a different answer than most people in the industry that I'm in, because success is really not growth, sales, or accumulation of assets and things you may hear from other financial planners or financial advisors. It's not really, managing assets. So success, we developed a different process a couple of years back and are still developing that process. And we are trying to have every client that we have, or every client that wants that opportunity, to have a complete financial plan. So from everything, from basic saving, college funding, debt management, protection of assets, whatever that may be, that's really what we're looking for. So we took out all sales goals in our business to lead to only trying to help clients develop their individual or their family financial plan. And we found that the growth is much greater because then they refer people and everything, even though we're not measuring that, but it is already there. But really what we're trying to do, we're determining success based on how many people are really in our financial planning program in the office.
So when you get into that and when you're taking out some of the financial steps in terms of monetary amount, how do you go about setting your goalposts?
So as far as what we need to bring in as far as money from clients, or?
No, not necessarily that, but like as a company throughout the year, as you're setting your goals and looking towards things, how do you set that up when it's not necessarily based around a certain sales criteria or a certain amount of money coming in?
Gotcha. So we use, this is what we do, right or wrong, but we use financial planning software. And anyone that wants to enter that, no matter if they are have assets, don't have assets, whatever their situation is, it doesn't matter. We call that, or we say that's one family. So we have a goal number of families that we want, and we use the software because anyone in our financial planning program is in that software that we use. So we determine how many families that we have, or how many individuals that we have throughout the year that enter the software, and we have a goal number of people coming in, no matter if they have money, don't have money, or whatever.
Okay.
Which is pretty different probably in the industry. But we're really trying to put a focus on that.
So for Ben Jackson, how did you end up here?
That's another great question. A few different steps. So when I graduated college, I had a principal that was my high school principal, and he called me. He had since retired, and he was a school board member in the district that I graduated from. He called me and asked me would I be interested in teaching. I was going into business and finance, and I said sure, because I didn't have a job really lined up. I was going to start at the bottom. I didn't really know what I was going to do. Had some opportunities, but so I took that teaching job, and I ended up doing that for 7 years. And I realized that's probably really not what I wanted to do. Just like many other people, change is hard, and it's just very difficult to make a decision to go in a different direction, especially with your career path. I think anyone would recognize that. So I had another principal who was my assistant basketball coach, which is why it's kind of ironic. He had also been a principal and a coach to me. He had also retired, and he was working for an insurance company, Horace Mann, and he had asked me to or talked about the opportunity with Horace Mann. So I listened to that. I said I definitely didn't want to do insurance. So then I took the job with Horace Mann, and I said I didn't want to do it. And I did that for several years. And part of Horace Mann is helping mostly educators, so our professors, our public K-12 education, and anyone else, is helping them with their retirement planning and their financial planning, but mostly just saving for retirement. And I realized I really had a passion for that throughout those first several years, and I kind of got away from insurance and into more of the financial programs that Horace Mann offered. And then, so I realized I had to once again become more equipped to handle other financial planning opportunities that were coming my way, and I wasn't really, because I was with an insurance company and I was kind of set on their proprietary products that they offered. So realizing that, we went independent. Now, we still serve Horace Mann and their clients, but they let us dually register with 2 broker-dealers. So Horace Mann being one of those, so we still work that educator market and all those clients that we had. And then we registered with the second broker-dealer that is our independent broker-dealer. So we could do those other things outside of Horace Mann that we were finding, and we were actually referring elsewhere into other people, because we could not, as a fiduciary and as looking at the client's best interest, we could not really take on those clients and put them probably where they needed to be at that time. So we did that a couple of years ago now, and that's kind of the career path on. Started back, several years ago. I guess that's been 18 years ago now until now. So always changing, always trying to improve, get better, and then also be happy. I'm probably happier now than I've ever been.
How did that, along that path, how did success change for you, and when did you start seeing some of those changes for success, both professionally and personally, kind of shift?
Yeah, well, I remember, I would say definitely when I felt like no pressure, I'll call that. So that would be, I guess, success. It was when the money pressure stopped. It's always, you start a business, and even as an educator, always, strict budget, and then went to business, and it was always money pressure, money pressure, money pressure. And I felt like when that stopped, when I realized it, I guess that would be kind of the click in my mind, or the turning point, or not really a turning point, but over the hump maybe would be a better phrase to use there, is when I wasn't worried about money anymore. I was worried about helping people out more so than money. I don't know really how that happened, but in coming with that, I realized if I really was taking my time, helping people out, doing what they needed, that the money was going to be fine. And I guess until you just asked that question, I never really thought about it, but I was assuming it was just being in the career longer and having have done it over and over. But I think it's my mind focus changed toward the client instead of myself. And that really helped. There was no worry anymore about it, because there's always, everybody should have a financial plan, in my opinion. So there's always people that are going to come and need that help or advice.
For anyone, I'm going to focus this, I guess, first on, for anyone that is potentially looking at financial planning, and this is a career path. This is a unique situation, right? That's not something where often they're going to be able to say, I don't have to worry about those monetary goalposts and the sales quotas and things.
I think that's absolutely correct. And I go back to the insurance company, Horace Mann. They offered me a great opportunity, and it was about helping people out, about doing things for people. We did a lot of pro bono and a lot of free work, and still do. So I don't want to say that, but obviously most, or I would say 95%, just me guessing, or more, is going to be sales goals. Not for one, their company wants sales goals, and they're not going to be independent for the most part. And for two, so they have to hit those sales goals to keep their job. And for two, you have to provide for your family. You do that by sales, and by sales can be bringing in assets or helping people manage their assets, charging financial planning fees, whatever that monetary way that they're taking in money could be, but they have to get clients to come in. And I think it is unique in that, and I credit that kind of to Horace Mann, back to the insurance company. They gave us a really good base and a really good program throughout the years that now we really don't, and I don't want to say we don't have to worry about that. We still need production and to come in, but it's not a focus. We just don't even think about it or talk about it at the office anymore.
So for someone that I don't know, do you have to have a degree for financial planning?
You don't have to have a degree. You have to pass, you probably have to have a high school degree, high school diploma. But other than that, no secondary education degree. You have to pass several securities exams to be, and there's different routes on that you can do. There's several of them. They're called the series. You can do Series 6, 63, 65, Series 7, which is more common. And so you don't have to have a degree to take those, but you have to pass those tests, which is kind of like a class maybe, and then or several classes in one that and then you go sit for the exam and you take it, and then you have a sponsoring broker dealer, then you're able to do. Now that is to sell products. That's not really what I would call financial planning. A Series 65 means you're an investment advisor, so you can give advice on investments, really, if you break it down. But the 65, you can give investment advice. I think more financial planning, though, would be the CFP, certified. The CFP board, they're the certified financial planning practitioner. That is, you have to have a bachelor's degree to be a certified financial planning practitioner, and I think that is, in my opinion, once again, that's probably the highest level or the most ethical level. And I think that's what most people want to shift for if they're truly in financial planning and not selling securities products. So I think there's a little bit of difference there. To sell securities products, you need a license. To actually do financial planning, you don't have to be a CFP registered person to do financial planning, but to be a certified financial planner, yes, you have to have a bachelor's degree. So I probably gave a long answer to a short question, but
no, that's good. I mean, hey, if anybody's listening, I mean, they have more knowledge than I that's better than Google. So beyond that and beyond the things they have to have, what advice would you give to someone that is looking at this as a career option in terms of how are they setting themselves up to be successful beyond the monetary amount? How do they take that mindset into that when looking for their broker and looking for those things?
That's a very good question, a very difficult question, because I went through that, and everyone is going to be different. I have very good friends in the industry that do not work in the same does not use the same broker dealer, is not independent, or are independent, don't use the same broker dealer. Different states, all kinds of different folks, and they're very successful and they love what they're doing, and they're not doing what I'm doing. So there's many, many different paths to success there. I think each individual person, if I were looking at the career, I would think, or if I had it to do over, I would go in the direction, you have to fit, or the broker dealer has to fit what you're trying to do. And for me, my ultimate goal was no captivity whatsoever, that I could sit down with every single person, and regardless of their situation, if they wanted to do something, I had the resources to be able to do that. a lot of people are not in that same industry or same mindset, because a lot of people, maybe they just want to work with women. That's that would be a great field to be in. Or maybe they just want to work with doctors or medical professionals. Maybe they just want to work with lawyers or teachers. They may not need all of those tools in their tool belt. So I would, if I were giving advice to someone coming on, I would be like, who do you want to work with, first of all? What do you want this to be for you? And then you want to find a company, a broker-dealer, a group, a whatever that situation is, to fit what you're trying to accomplish and what you want to be. A lot of people want to come in, and that's probably what most people think. Like, what is a financial advisor? Well, they manage my assets. That's not really what a financial planner does, though. Like, we don't look at it like that. Like, we have written financial plans for people and not manage their assets at all. If you have your assets at one of these other great companies out there and you love what they're doing for you, or you love a .com company that you have your assets with, keep it there. Manage it yourself, or whoever is doing that for you. We can still do the planning part without that. But that's what I wanted the business set up as. That's a hard road, though, because if you're not bringing on assets, that's hard to probably accomplish some of your goals or your company's goals. So, which is the reason I went the way I did. But there's many different paths. But that's what just find out what you would want, where you're at, what you want to do, and then you're probably going to make changes as you go.
We're going to take a quick ad break, which I find very ironic based on the question I'm going to ask as soon as we get back. But let's take this break and we'll be right back. Today's episode is sponsored by Jackson Financial, where they can help you retire. In a world full of anxiety and confusion, they strive to provide clarity and peace of mind. From retirement solutions to wealth management, their insight and sophisticated financial strategies can help you make your investment goals a reality. No matter the complexity of your investor profile, they believe everyone deserves a financial plan to create better outcomes, so you can plan with confidence. They maintain strategic expertise across a broad range of investor profiles, including entrepreneurs and executives, career professionals, pre-retirees and retirees, as well as high net worth individuals. If you believe you could benefit from working with a financial professional, they would love to review your portfolio, financial trajectory, and goals to see how they can help. Make an appointment today by going to benjacksonfinancial.com. That's benjacksonfinancial.com. Now back to the episode. All right, we are back, and obviously with financial planning and all of these things, you have so many rules, regulations, and everything, especially when it comes to marketing and advertising. Could you break that down a little bit for me?
Yeah, so basically, with the rules are based around, there's no, if you're asset management, I guess, if you're managing people's assets, for most things, there's no guarantees on those. And FINRA and the SEC don't want folks to be, to think that there could be guarantees, so they put all of these regulations on advertising, and they probably should be there. There's so many things you cannot say, and so many words you cannot say, and especially words like guarantee, which I'm not using in any way, shape, or form. But that's basically the gist behind everything. Is I think for years people probably had been taking advantage of people using words and then you know how people are, like if and me included, if I see something great, and even though there was a hour-long presentation, I had one great sentence, that's all I remember from the presentation.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody uses the word guarantee and something great, and then you come out, well, a lot of people, including myself, that's all they will hear. But that's very misleading because, or maybe focus on that word. So they just took it out altogether. You can't use words like that. You can obviously advertise yourself, advertise what you're doing, advertise, but you can't say things like that you're better than other people or that your mutual funds are better than other mutual funds or that anything's guaranteed whatsoever, because it's definitely not guaranteed.
And I've heard that even when it comes down to like social media, if someone else is commenting on a post and saying, oh yeah, so-and-so can take care of this and they will for sure get that done for you, that can violate it.
Yeah, it could be if it depending on what that thing is that they're for sure getting done for you. But yeah, if it's for sure get up with you and sit down and talk to you, that's fine. Because they can for sure do that. But if it's for sure get you an 8% return on your investments, yeah, that's definitely not the case.
Yeah,
none of that is for sure. But yeah, it's very, very fine line on what you can do there on using like instant messenger even to communicate. You were talking about social media. We have Facebook and we don't use instant messenger at all. We just completely turn it off. Okay. No one can even message us on that because of all the securities regulations, which if you had, and I do that on the personal side, I've instant messaged companies all the time. If I want my car cleaned or whatever, I may set up an appointment through instant messenger.
Yeah.
And we're unfortunately, and fortunately, I understand the protection there. We're not allowed to do that. Yeah.
A lot to go through because, gosh, if we couldn't have anybody instant message us, that'd be a whole different ordeal. What is something that you think, especially with financial planning, that's just a common misconception for people?
I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I think people, when they think about financial planning, they think that they have to have money. They think, I'm getting someone to manage my money. And for most blue-collar people, they probably think of themselves as not having a lot of money, whether they're being very successful or not. I've got a client that lives in Floyd County, one of my best clients, love him to death, but he always tells me every time I see him, he says, and he's done a very good job financially, I'll say that. And every time I see him, he leaves and he says, I can't believe I've got a financial advisor, and he's done a great job. But like everyone else, he thinks of it as someone to manage my money. That is not financial planning. I think that's a huge misconception, that financial planning could be, it's really about setting goals. There's a 7-step process that we use. It's really about setting each person or each family's goals and accomplishing those goals. Now, do those goals, when you're talking about finance, involve money? Yes. But that may be, if you want your financial future to live in a camper and, eat very inexpensive and whatever, how much money do you really need? You may not need as much as someone that wants to travel the world every year. So there's all kinds of different people, and it's based on that person. Some of our best clients have very little assets, or have very little assets right now. Maybe they're not at a stage yet. Maybe they're saving for college. Maybe they're getting out of debt. Maybe there's all kinds of different routes that people go. And I think that's a huge misconception, is I don't need a financial planner because I don't have any money. And I look at it as like, well, it's kind of like not planning for your financial future could be kind of like not exercising for your future health, or not eating properly for your future health. Or if I have a toothache, I don't want to go to the dentist because the dentist is going to tell me I have something's wrong with my tooth. That's kind of, everyone, including me, has things that we're trying to accomplish financially. And that's why you make a plan to, or in my opinion, that's why you make a plan to help you accomplish those things, whether you have money or not. That's real. I don't want to say irrelevant, But when you're starting to develop that, it's really not the most important thing is already having assets.
Right. The goal is to gain assets and gain that through the plan.
That's right. It's to, or whatever you're trying to accomplish. Some people may need $5 million to retire. Some people may need $20,000 to retire. Some people may need $300,000 to go to college, depending on how inflation goes,
Right,
and what college costs are going to be, and if we're paying for college still. Some people may need $0 to go to college. They may go into welding or plumbing that they don't necessarily, have to pay for that. So it's all kinds of different situations, and so it may not even be gaining assets. May not really be part of your financial plan. It could be. Gaining money assets. It could be that you're going to do rental properties and you're going to have an income base in retirement based on your rental properties. Well, that's not really you don't have money there. I mean, you have assets because of the property, but there's all kinds of different things. But I think that's one of the biggest things that folks miss when they come in is we want to help you regardless of the situation you're in. And I'm speaking for the industry, not just my office or myself. I think that I have a lot of good friends that I work with closely that would say the same thing, that regardless of your situation, if you were already in a great situation, then you probably need less. You actually would be less likely to need a financial plan than if you weren't in a great situation.
Right.
Most likely.
So what impact do you think people have, or I guess what impact do you think people like Dave Ramsey and those that are very popular for doing this kind of as a media aspect, what impact does that have on people and their view on financial planning and advice in general?
Yeah, that's another great question. I think using Dave Ramsey, I think a lot of his stuff is very good. I really do. I think he gives a lot of great, advice, if you want to call it that, or a great program with his STEP program that he uses. And a lot of that we use too. So I'll answer the question, how that helps people or how that impacts people is I think it makes people much more aware about financial planning in general. So I think it's a good thing. The second thing, I think that people are changing. They are starting to realize things about financial planning or even asset management and things that maybe people didn't realize before, and I think people are, even if they're doing it on their own, I think they're investing their money potentially in better spots than what they would have before because they're listening to things like Dave Ramsey and that program. I think they're also the people that have been through that, and I know a lot of churches do it, which I think is a great thing, for their members. And then they have big classes, they sit through it, they go through it, and hopefully that's very helpful. I think the problem with things like that, or not the problem, I wouldn't say that. I think maybe the thing to think about with things like that are that Dave Ramsey is giving a one-size-fits-all kind of program. And even though it's great, I love it personally, and he's, helped many people become successful, I'm sure. But if you're not in that one-size-fits-all, what other ways are out there to be successful? Dave Ramsey probably has one of the best ways, and that's in my opinion, obviously. But there's other ways that if you can't manage the program that Dave Ramsey is asking you to do, then there's other things you can do and still be just as successful as his program. And that may fit your personal situation much better. But overall, I think it's a great thing because I think people need education. Just if you look at the fees between 20, 30 years ago and now, they're so much smaller. And people probably for a lot of part, I would imagine, not saying I know this, but I would imagine probably didn't know what they were actually paying in fees. Now that has become a huge thing in the industry too. What am I paying for fees? And or what investment option am I in? And what fees is that option costing? I think the more and more education people get on that, the better off the individual or the family will be by using those things.
I also, and saying this is my opinion as well, but I've been cautioning people here recently that because of social media, because of all the things that are so active, it's great to go on and look and get advice from that, but don't take it all at face value, because there's a difference between someone, in my opinion, who is an influencer and a content creator. One is creating content because they believe in the thing. The other is you're the product. They're making money off of your view, whether it works for you or not. And I'm saying that mostly I've seen on TikTok here recently. There's some people that I've been like, they're giving some financial advice, but I also know, based on what other people pointed, they're not licensed. They're not doing those things. What's the danger in that?
Well, there's a lot of danger in that, because if they're influencing you to do certain things, then you can completely devastate your financial well-being by doing that if that doesn't fit you. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all, and that's even more than Dave Ramsey. Those like I said, I like his program. Those folks, and some of that stuff is really good. Like I'll use Roth IRA conversions. That's a huge deal in the industry right now, and I do a lot of those myself in my office, and for a lot of different people. And there's many, many good things. But if you're doing a Roth IRA conversion and you're not in a situation to do a Roth IRA conversion, because someone said so, then you could put yourself in a lot of tax trouble by doing that. So there's more than just listening to someone. There's a ton of planning. And I would advise everyone to use a CPA for the tax planning part, in addition to whoever they're going to for their financial advice. But there's a ton of planning just with that one thing, a Roth conversion. And I've seen a lot of stuff on that too, is the reason I put that out there. But yeah, I think there's a lot of danger in that, because it could be overall a good idea for certain people.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your personal situation, that may not make a whole lot of sense for you to be doing. And I think you need to have a holistic approach to what every decision you make should be, financially I'm talking about, in my opinion, once again, should be, holistically, is this going to help or hurt what I'm trying to accomplish? What are my goals? And is this decision going to help or hurt me accomplishing my goals? That should be what everything is based on when you're making a financial decision.
So for anyone listening, business owner, family, whatever it may be, what is your advice for the first time if they're coming in to sit down with you?
Well, I think really, that would be our step one. We sit down, we get to know you. And I think that my advice to the other person on the other side of the table would probably be the advice you gave me today. Just kind of sit here and we'll work through it, and we'll just hang out and talk. And that's really what we want to do. We only want to get to know you. There is no pressure. There's nothing at all. When you come in and you sit down the first time, you're really, I think you're probably going to feel pressure like I do when I go to the dentist or the doctor. You're going to feel like, well, what's going to happen, the unknown. And that's with anyone, not just our office. I think that what I would tell you, or my advice to you, it's going to be no pressure. We're just going to sit down and talk to you and try to find out how we can help you out. And that's the industry in general. And I speak for a lot of people I know in the industry and my own office, but that's really what we're going to do. You're going to come in, we're going to sit down, and we're only going to talk to you about what are you trying to accomplish. And you're probably not going to know what you're trying to accomplish. You're just going to come in because someone told you to, or because you have one specific thing that you're thinking about. Maybe it's college, maybe it's you're in credit card debt, maybe whatever the situation may be, and that's completely fine. But after we get to know you a little bit and find out a little bit about you, then we're going to try to help you set goals. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And so the pressure stuff, there's really no pressure stuff at all ever throughout the whole process. And I think that that's the advice I would give someone, is if you're going to sit down with someone that you feel could probably help you, is just don't be nervous, or don't feel like you're going to be pressured. Just relax.
If someone is led to come talk to you, what's the best way for them to get in contact?
For them to contact us?
Yeah.
Well, email, phone call, any of that. Stop by in person. See us at an event in the community, whatever. We're happy to do any of those, and set that up. I mean, we monitor the phones pretty closely. Email, I check those 2 or 3 times a day. Patrick in my office, he checks 2 or 3 times a day. So anything, really, we use probably all means of, other than messengers and things that are not allowed.
And what is that website for people?
So on the website, we have benjacksonfinancial.com. And, of course, email address, we still go with the Horace Mann. That's ben.jackson@horacemann, HORACEMANN.com. And our phone is 540-505-5371. And all that is on our website.
Any final pieces you want to leave people with?
I think the biggest thing is, everyone, in my opinion, should have and deserves to have a financial plan. I think that will really help everyone accomplish whatever they're trying to accomplish financially.
Well, thank you, Ben. I appreciate you being here. Thank you, members, for listening. We will be back in 2 weeks with our next guest. In the meantime, make sure you go out, connect, engage, and prosper.